Let's get back to our panel for analysis. With us from Rio de Janeiro is Bernardo Sorj. He's a professor with the University of Sao Paulo. Here in our Washington, D.C. studio is Paulo Sotero. For 17 years, he was the Washington correspondent for a Brazilian daily newspaper. And from Sao Paulo is Mauricio Saverese. He's a journalist who specializes in Brazilian politics. And Bernardo, I said I would come back to you for the comment you wanted to make about the possibility of impeachment in Brazil.
Yeah, no, I don't deny the importance of the legal argument, but at the end of the day, we should remember that impeachment is a political act. You don't judge really the person in a juridical sense. You discuss if he should continue to be president at the end of the day on a political ground. You have a president here, Collor, that was impeached, and at the end he was innocented by the Supreme Court because of lack of proofs. Then I think the political aspect is very important, and I understand that for our viewer outside Brazil should understand that Brazilian politics is not really polarized as you could imagine in other places in Latin America or Europe or the States. In fact, what is really, why it's so difficult to know the future is because basically the political environment is based on a very fragmented political party system, and the political parties themselves, 28 now in the Congress, are fragmented. Then it's very difficult really to create a direction that you can imagine possible developments. That is why things are changing so rapidly at this moment, because in fact there is no such a thing like government and opposition. Government itself is based on political parties that are voting against him, and the opposition is completely divided, even the main parties. Then it's very difficult to understand what is happening in Brazil if we imagine a situation of polarization. I would say polarization exists more in society, but not at the level of Congress, and this makes things very difficult to plan and to define what is going to be the next steps.
Okay, Paulo, we just heard the former president, Lula, saying, give her a chance, give President Dilma Rousseff a chance to turn this around. But if we look at her approval ratings right now, single digits, around 7%, is she going to be the leader that's going to do this?
Yeah, that is the problem, and not only that, which goes to what Bernardo had just mentioned, she just does not have political support in Congress, in the population. The problem is also that President Lula is right now, this very minute, doing the utmost to undermine her Minister of Finance, Joaquim Levy, who was nominated by Dilma Rousseff to try to stabilize the economic situation. So this is how complicated this is. President Lula has re-entered the arena, and his objective right now is to undo the plan, the stabilization plan that Brazil needs to, under Dilma, or under any person, Brazil will have to increase taxes and lower benefits. An economic adjustment that will be painful, that will have social consequences.
Just ordinary people are going to pay for that, right?
Ordinary people is going to pay for that, and you have this perfect gridlock, if it's possible to deepen a gridlock. We just did it in Brazil. I think, though, the process will continue and will probably continue through courts, through judicial decisions. The judiciary in Brazil, and especially the judges involved in the investigation of this mega operation against corruption called Lava Jato on Petrobras, they have enormous credibility in the country, and I think new facts may come to that. Also, one thing important, for instance, the Speaker of the House in Brazil, the person that is the gatekeeper of actions in the Congress in impeachment, is accused, seriously, he is accused by federal prosecutors of being deeply, deeply corrupt.
This is Eduardo Cunha.
Eduardo Cunha, who is being accused of holding some money from the Petrobras scandal that he obtained, obviously illegally, in 5 Swiss bank accounts that, at least in one of them, the address in the account is his personal address in Rio de Janeiro.
Mauricio, the president's chosen remedy is austerity. Is that going to work in Brazil?
Well, I think I can only make predictions about Brazilian politics that are beyond this crisis, and it's hard to make any others that relate to the next 2 or 3 months. But one thing that we can definitely say is that this kind of governance with almost 40 political parties involved in Congress in some way, that's not going to work in the near term, maybe for 2018, 2022, that kind of arrangement in which you have the leading, the party that selects the president getting 20% of the seats in Congress, that is not going to work anymore. So Brazil is going to have to wrap its head around something else, a different kind of arrangement, and it's very hard to see any players at this moment who can actually do that. What we can see from now is that neither President Dilma or former President Lula or the opposition have enough votes to pass anything. If Brazil wanted to pass a motion to give another tribute to Pelé today, they wouldn't be able to, because there's so much political disagreement over many of the issues that were settled that it's hard to believe that that kind of arrangement, if not in the next 2 months, that is going to last for until the end of of Dilma's administration. She's not capable of doing that, but neither are the others. And that's going to be very interesting 3 years to see how Brazilian politics solve that equation. For now, we cannot see any signs, except for a big fragmentation in the mayoral elections, that is going to be repeated at the federal level in the near term.
Okay, Bernardo, I'd like to hear your thoughts on austerity. I mean, where has austerity worked in the world right now? Doesn't Brazil need growth? I mean, its unemployment rate is going up. Shouldn't it be spending more rather than cutting back on public expenditure?
The point is, I agree completely that we need growth, but should be an healthy growth and not spending money we don't have. And I am in favor of taxes, and especially the richest one. But even then, the level of taxes in Brazil are almost the same as the United States, and the quality of the services people get, as I mentioned before, is very bad. Then, of course, we need growth, but we need, first of all, to solve the problems, and it should be said clearly. Part of the problems, and I agree with Paulo, were created by the irresponsible policies directly made by Dilma Rousseff, a state-oriented mind that decided to make investments of billions of dollars that were completely inadequate, subsidies that were completely inadequate, and somebody needs to pay the bill. And we are paying the bill of the election cost, which was Dilma's success. She was very responsible, it should be said. And at this moment, I don't know any economist from left or right that would say that we can, at this moment, spend more in order to increase growth. We need to make cuts. And those cuts, of course, people will say you need to make more, to put more taxes on the richest, on the banks. I'm going to disagree with that, but that doesn't solve the problem. The problem now is, unfortunately, austerity.
And now just one thing I wanted to say, Anand, is that the economic solutions to our problems exist. They are tough. But we are not going to get to those until we solve the political crisis. And this is fundamental right now. That's where the gridlock is, and we don't know how long it will take for us to undo the gridlock.
I have one final question, very quickly, Paulo. Brazil hosted a very successful soccer World Cup. It's going to be hosting the Olympic Games.
Yes.
Is it going to be able to afford that, or is it going to plunge the country into even deeper debt?
Actually, surprisingly, that is going reasonably well. A lot of the works are ahead of schedule, and we should host a very nice Olympics, even if the country is in crisis.
And that's where we have to leave it. Thanks to all of you for joining us.